Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Hasnain Jaffrey. I am one of the co-founder of the Zeal Corporation, and we are here to do second webinar of our series. We're going to talk about the Islamic guidance about the investment, and this time we have our advisor, Mufti Abdullah Nana Sahib. He will talk about it. So, in our another co-founder, Ahmed Khan, he is sick today. So please remember him in your prayers. So I'll just take 5 to 10 minutes of your time to give you a basic quick overview about the product and what we offer. And after that, I will hand over to Mufti Nana so he can do his. So we offer first of all, we are a fintech-based company in Toronto. We have an office in USA and in Pakistan as well. We specialized on the fintech side in the digital screening for the Sharia compliant, and we also provide you all kinds of financial and technical analysis of any asset that we screen or we bring it on board. Our Sharia advisor is Usmani & Company, while our ethical advisor is Mufti Abdullah Nana. And for last year, our platform has been used by the Mizan Bank Pakistan and the Pakistan Stock Exchange to deliver the screening of the Sharia compliant stocks in Pakistan. There are two Sharia compliant indexes, the KMI 30 and KMI All Share. So this is kind of a stamp mark for us in terms of the trust that we have gained in a short time. This is about myself. I'm not going to brag since time is short. So very quickly, we provide the complete trading platform that is backed by the TD Ameritrade and the Interactive Broker currently right now. In the second half of the year, we will see if we can go and add more brokerage services behind that one. We are offering services across the globe in big markets. And also, we offer pretty much all kind of this accounts we support beside options and margin accounts. Okay, so we are right now at the only company in the world who provide a trading platform, a multi-asset trading platform from the Sharia compliant perspective. We provide you a complete portfolio and order management system as well. So we do the screening both at the macro level and the micro level, and that involves basically both machine, the AI, as well as the human interpretation as well. The human brain is also required because the AI cannot do the job completely, especially when it comes to the Sharia. You have to go and read those numbers at the micro level and brings the human knowledge as well as the Sharia knowledge, for which machine cannot do its job. And currently we screen our stocks through the 8 methodologies. I forgot to add the 8 ones. So in parallel, we give you a comparative analysis of each and every equity and stock that we screen. So you can take a look at it, that where and how that stock or equity is performing based on different methodologies. We also provide you the purification as well as the zakat calculation. And the purification is based on the IOFI standard, and zakat purification and all those factors are available. So you can go and these are all available in our system. And as I was saying to you, we provide you a multi-asset trading platforms, which includes not just the equities, but sukuk, commodities, REITs, mutual funds, ETFs, and everything across the globe. As you can see, this is a screenshot from the system. And we have a complete order management system as well. So when you place the order, you see each and everything, like what kind of order you want to place, buy, sell, and order type, and based on the order timing as well. We also provide you the facility to perform your trading in pre-hours as well as in the post-hours as well. It's like, as I was mentioning to you, that we offer you the portfolio management system as well. So you can take a look at it, that how your assets are doing over the period of the time. We also let you monitor your assets in multi-currencies as well. One is based on your, in which you are performing the trade, which is your home local country. And for example, if you are sitting in the United States and you're performing a trade in UK or Canadian market, and you want to see that how your assets are doing in that one, so you have this facility as well. Okay, so here it is. And also you can look at how your assets are doing against what you allocate in your as a target versus how they are performing. You can maintain multiple portfolios within the account. Okay, so there's no limitation in terms of that one. And we also provide you an interactive charting, so you can look at it and do all of those things, which a lot of, alhamdulillah, I mean, pretty much all the traders nowadays, or the people who are doing the trading, they look at those charts, that how their companies is performing with over 45 plus technical ratios available and chartings available. We also provide you all these things, that how you're in terms of your tracking of the history, your orders, where you have invested, and all these things, how many stocks you're trading in, your market value, and all these things over the period of the time, 6 month, 12-month, year to date, and all these things, which is available on the left side of the screen. You can see that one. We also let you track your portfolio gain and loss, both realized and unrealized gain, over the period of the time. We also provide you the correlation matrix, so you can take a look at it, that how your portfolio is doing. And in the coming future, probably in the early first quarter, we will provide you the model portfolios, so you can take a look at it, and basically design by filling out all these questionnaires, that how your portfolio should look like, and what kind of the assets we can recommend you. And beside that, we are working, hopefully in the second half of the later half of the year, we might be able to provide you the advisory service as well, which is still up in the air. We are working on all those kind of things. Our Sharia board is Usmani & Company. It's the IOFI chairman, Sheikh Taqi Usmani Sahab, is the chief patron of the company, Usmani & Company, and Dr. Imran Ashraf Usmani is the CEO. Beside that, one of the other Sharia board panel is Mufti Hassan Kaleem, who's the chairman of the Pak Qatar Takaful. He's also the board member of the Dubai Islamic Bank. Beside that, he is sitting on a couple of other board panel, including Deloitte, the Global Islamic Finance Team. Our ethical advisor is Mufti Abdullah Nana, who's going to talk about this whole webinar. So I hand over to Mufti Nana to carry on. And once he's done, after that, we will go and have a question and answer session. So if you have any questions, please hold on till he is done, inshallah. Mufti Saab, to you. Let me start your slide. Mufti Saab.
I can't hear anything.
Can you hear now?
Can you hear me, brother?
Yes, I can hear you now. Please, go ahead.
I can't hear anyone, nor can I.
Can you hear me? We are having some technical difficulties with the Nana Saab, so just give us a minute, please.
Can everybody?
Yeah, we can hear you now, please. It's better.
Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Unfortunately, even with the best planning, there's always some technical glitches with all these online products. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmadu sallallahu kareem. Amma ba'd. Respected viewers and listeners, I'd like to start off today's program with a question. And I'm assuming this question is relevant to many of us. The question is, what is the quickest way to make a small fortune investing in the stock market? What's the answer to that? Very easy. Just start off with a large fortune, and with a short period of time, you have a small fortune. So with regards to today's presentation, I have a few objectives in mind, and I also have a few disclaimers in mind. So inshallah, looking at the time, inshallah, I will do my best to end my part by 11:40, and inshallah, I'll leave time for Q&A as well, inshallah, for all the questions. I'm sure there are many questions everyone has. So inshallah, I will do my best to leave significant time for questions. And also, just as a disclaimer, there is a lot of material to cover. And there's no way today in a 1 hour time slot that we can cover this topic and do justice to this topic, making that very clear. And inshallah, we hope, inshallah, with all the interest and our viewers and our listeners throughout America and throughout the world, inshallah, our plan is perhaps to have some follow-up seminars as well, and discussing more advanced topics, discussing topics such as different types of investments, and more advanced topics such as options, derivatives, and so on. Also, another disclaimer I wish to make here is that I am an advisor to the Zeal Corp, and I do believe in this organization and the products that they offer. So that's a disclaimer I wish to present. And lastly, the last disclaimer, today we will be focusing on a very specific aspect of investing. Like, keep in mind, investing involves real estate, investing can involve retirement account, can involve Bitcoin, can involve many other things. Today, specifically, we'll be focusing on the stock market, as opposed to investing in other avenues. Next. Is our power presentation working, Brother Hassan? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I know that we have many first-time investors. We have many people who have heard the hype of GameStop, the recent stock market boost. I know we have many people who are interested, and they've heard this hype, they've heard this frenzy, and want to jump on the band, or they want to get involved, or they also want to take advantage of the stock market. So I do wish to emphasize two important things. And I've described it as follows: the two essential components for successful Islamic investment. So the first one has to do with a basic Islamic literacy with regards to the laws, the fiqh, and the rules of investing, and specifically the rules of riba and interest. So this is from a point of view. The second essential component is a basic literacy on investments and investment strategy from a secular perspective. Understanding the ins and outs of investing, investing 101, understanding the terminology of investing, bear market, bull market, long-term, short-term, day trading. Next. Next. Okay. So the Islamic literacy regarding transactions. So going back to the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that seeking knowledge is mandatory upon every Muslim. And this also means that before we as Muslims embark on anything in life, whether it's buying a house, whether it's investing in the stock market, whether it's taking a new job, before we embark on these things, we need to know Islamic rulings and the Islamic laws related to that action before we go in. It's not that a question which I've been receiving. Sheikh, I have $75,000 invested in the stock market, and I've had the money in there for 10 years, and now, Sheikh, I'm not sure what's halal, what's haram. So, respected friends and listeners, is that we should obtain the necessary knowledge before starting our investments in the stock market and not after. And a good example is there for us, a good legal precedent is there for us in the example of the Muslims in Madinah al-Munawwara during the time of the great Khalifa, the great Muslim leader, Umar bin Khattab. So this basic Islamic literacy, which I'm referring to, is as follows: that in order for a Muslim to set up a store in Madinah al-Munawwara, there wasn't necessarily a requirement for licenses, paperwork, documentation, but every person that wanted to open up a store or do business in Madinah al-Munawwara had to first pass a basic Islamic literacy test. What is riba? What is interest? What is permissible transaction? What are the laws thereof? And only then were they allowed to do business in Madinah al-Munawwara. And this only started from the time of Umar bin Khattab. It continued on to the time of the great Imam Malik as well. So this is our past, and this is part of our tradition. That Muslims, before investing in the stock market, they should ideally go through some basic training and education and know the ins and outs, know the rules and do's and don'ts of investing in the stock market. Next. Okay. So still discussing basic literacy in investment terminology, strategies, and guidelines. So respected friends, let us make this very clear. Today's seminar, it will be focusing on the Islamic side of things. And I will do my best to present to you the basics of investing in the stock market. At the same time, today's presentation is not meant to cover the basics of investing as a whole. So I strongly encourage all of us, there are books out there, the basics of investing, investing for dummies, investing 101, where we learn the ins and outs and the secular aspect of investing. The terminology is also very important. Understanding a long-term strategy versus a short-term strategy, understanding risk, understanding return, and much more. Right? So this aspect is beyond the scope of today's program, but at the same time, every single one of us that plans to invest in the stock market or already is investing in the stock market should obtain some basic knowledge and literacy with regards to how investing works, how the stock market works, how the trades work, how commissions work, and so on. And the reason why these two components are so important, knowing the Islamic laws behind investing and knowing the basic principles behind investing from a secular point of view, is to equip ourselves with knowledge and to ensure that we have a strategy in mind and we have some clear directions in mind on how to invest. Next. So I can also add this as well. During the last 2 months, I've seen more interest in the stock market than ever before in life. I've received so many questions, and there's so much interest, and people have literally been bombarding me with questions. So I've seen this after observing enough questions and I'm talking to enough people. I've seen that as Muslims, we lack the general base information, or we lack basic literacy regarding the stock market. And we have to say too, because investment is halal, does not necessarily mean that it is a wise investment decision. I've had to talk to people who want to invest all their money into one stock. They're talking about investing $100,000 into one stock, or all their money just into Bitcoin, for example. So whether or not this is a halal or haram, that is a separate matter. We also have to incorporate sound investment strategy and decision making. And it's also worth noting that due to this hype and frenzy, many individuals, and Muslims especially, wish to jump on the stock market bandwagon. They wish to ride the wave of growth and profit without understanding investment strategy or the legal guidelines. Next. So I also wish to discuss today specifically the laws and rules of investing in the stock market. And right off the bat, we need to acknowledge and understand there are some unique challenges with regards to investing in the stock market. Number one, unfortunately, every single stock company, every single major corporation has some unlawful elements or has a percentage of interest income. Unfortunately, this is the case with almost every single major stock company in our country. Secondly, Muslims do not run the stock market in the United States of America or here in North America, nor do they run the vast majority of stock companies as well. So whatever decisions being made, whatever income or whatever business is being done on the stock market, unfortunately, is being done by individuals who do not necessarily follow the Islamic principles. Likewise, we can have an entire separate seminar on 401k and retirement plans. For the time being, after talking to literally hundreds of Muslims throughout the country, we know that there is a challenge when it comes to 401ks and retirement plans. And unfortunately, most Muslims do not necessarily have a choice on what to invest in. They're just given a portfolio and it's take it or leave it. So this is also a challenge as well, that pretty much every single 401k plan offered by an employer in America has stocks or haram stocks in that portfolio. For example, bank stocks, bonds, etc. So this also presents some challenges as well. And as a side point, inshallah, hopefully we will have an entire webinar only on 401ks and discussing what we as Muslims can do. Okay, next. Okay, so just briefly, I wish to bring to our attention, to all of our listeners and viewers, how Islamic finance standards work. So specifically when it comes to Islamic finance worldwide today, there is a gold standard that has been set. And Islamic finance is much more regulated and has actual standards, universal standards, as opposed to even the halal industry or other industries in the world. So, known as AOFI, the Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. Throughout the world, this organization is known as the gold standard, and it is widely accepted among scholars, practitioners, and the Muslim public as well. And some of the greatest scholars in the world are behind AOFI, the Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. This organization has also published their Ma'yar Shar'iyya, their standards for Islamic finance in the world. Next. So now we get to the halal requirements or the halal criteria for investing in the stock market. And perhaps this is the main issue or the main question when it comes to the stock market. What are the halal standards for determining if a stock meets the halal requirements or does not do so? So Number one, so these are universally accepted standards set by AOFI. Looking at the AOFI standards, these are 5 criteria or requirements that have been outlined. Number one, the main business of the company must be halal. So this would mean, for example, we as Muslims cannot invest in a casino. A casino obtains the majority of its income from gambling. And for example, we as Muslims can, for this reason, would not be able to invest in a casino stock or even Budweiser, etc. Just as a side point, mashallah, we have viewers and we have people from all different backgrounds attending today's seminar and webinar. The fact that the main business of the company must be halal opens up this discussion on ethical investing and looking at where we put in our dollars, where we invest our money. And this itself is also a very vast topic and a very interesting and fascinating topic. In fact, a few years ago, the Harvard Islamic Finance Seminar had a program on ethical investing and the halal criteria. And one of the hypotheses presented during that seminar was that Islamic investing and the Islamic criteria for investing would have saved the world from the last stock market collapse and the last economic meltdown. Right? Anyone who's familiar with derivative swaps are not halal in Islam, for example. And even also worth noting, the recent GameStop fiasco and short selling on GameStop and the millions of dollars that were lost. Muslims again would have avoided that because Muslims are not allowed to short sale on the stock market. So again, that can be a separate topic, and we can discuss the Islamic criteria for ethical investing and halal investing as well. So number one, in summary, the main business of the company must be halal. Number two, if the company has any non-halal income, for example, interest income, or for example, 1% of the company's income comes from interest. So the Muslim investor must voice his or her disapproval. And related to that, although I didn't include it here, related to that, if there is any non-halal income, the Muslim should also purify their wealth, and as will come up in number 4, give that amount in charity. So you can say number 2 and number 4 are related. If number 1 is number 2 states, if there's any non-halal income, the Muslim investor must voice his disapproval. And number 4, if there's any unlawful income, any profit that comes from that percentage or any dividend which the person earns from that company, they should give the corresponding percentage of haram income away in charity. So simple numbers here. For example, the percentage of haram income is, for example, 1%. And let's say the person gains a dividend worth $20. So take 1% of $20. So the person should give roughly 20 cents in charity to purify their wealth. If there's any further questions, I will explain that in more detail. But the summary is purifying one's wealth according to the ratio of a haram income. Okay. Going to number 3, the non-halal income of this company should be less than 5% of its total income. And as I explained for number 4, in the event of a percentage of unlawful income, a corresponding percentage of the company's stock dividend should be given in charity to purify one's wealth. So those are the first 4 requirements for investing in the stock market, according to AOFI and according to Mufti Usmani as well. The 5th requirement is the illiquid assets of the company. So here what we mean, a company will have liquid assets and we'll have illiquid assets. Liquid assets would mean, for example, cash reserves. Illiquid assets would mean, for example, machinery, equipment, a factory, etc. So the fifth requirement is the illiquid assets of the company should be at least 33% of its total assets. So respected friends, these are the basic criteria and requirements for investing in the stock market. Of course, each one of them can be described in further detail, but this is just a summary. Next. Okay. So the challenge which we are seeing right now in America is as follows. Many Muslims want to invest in the stock market. They want to get involved. They would like to make some halal money off of the stock market. So the main challenge is determining whether or not the stocks we're investing in are halal or not. That's the $1 million question. And how do we do that? So as you've noticed, these criteria require us to understand something about the financial statements of a company. They require us to be able to look up information regarding a company. And they also require us to have some basic knowledge on how financial statements work, how companies' income statements work, and so on. So the challenge which I see is as follows. Sometimes a person might be investing in tens of stocks or even hundreds of stocks. Mashallah, to those who are wealthy, right? A person might have a portfolio full of stocks. And there are two approaches. One is the person does the research by themselves. For example, the person looks up the information. They look at each stock individually. They look at the criteria given above, and they come up with the final verdict. This stock is halal, this stock is haram. Respected friends, you can see the challenges there. The average person might not have the financial background or might not have the skill set to calculate this for every stock. Or they might not even have the time to do so for every single stock. So here, the other option, besides calculating this themselves, besides the person doing this calculation or determining this information themselves, the other option is handing this over to a reliable third-party certification organization or Sharia advisory group. And this is the same thing in halal, for example, halal certification as well. In the old days, sometimes we have to call up a company. Are your ingredients halal? Is your monodiglycerides, does it come from animal sources or vegetarian sources? Is the meat you serve at your restaurant machine slaughtered or hand slaughtered? Sometimes in the old days, we had to do that information ourselves. We had to make the phone calls and find out ourselves. So-and-so's meat supplier, you get your meat from so-and-so meat supplier. Hold on, now let me find out. Let me call up that meat supplier and do further research. So respected friends, the point is, life would be much easier if we had a reliable group of Islamic finance experts who did this work for us. In that way, all we look at, we get the final verdict. This stock is halal, this stock is haram. Green light, red light, and so on. Now, before I open up for Q&A, I do wish to make some observations as well. As things stand in America right now, alhamdulillah, there is much more education regarding the stock market than 10 years ago. As a result, now there are many apps, there are many resources out there as well. And here, I'm just giving my fair assessment after looking at many of these apps, after looking at many of these options. The challenge which I see is as follows. You get what you pay for. Right? Mashallah, there are many apps out there. Many of them are free. The challenge which I see is handing over this work to an algorithm and to a computer program versus having a Sharia, Islamic finance expert manually vet that stock and determine if it's halal or not. So you have to understand there's a big difference between algorithms and computer calculations versus manual research. And it's a question to ask as well. if I was applying to a college, for example, or I was applying for a job, or I was applying for the COVID vaccine, what if the criteria were judged by an algorithm or a computer? My skill set, what unique things I bring to the table, I'm leaving to a computer to decide, versus manually having a team of application reviewers or application experts who go through my application manually and determine if I am suitable for the job or suitable for being accepted into that college. So, respected friends, I can tell you myself, I have seen some of these apps and organizations that work off of algorithms, and I have found major discrepancies. Sometimes I myself go through that screening process, and I wonder, how is this a stock halal? Right? The app did not catch, the criteria were not applied properly, and the app did not catch them. So keep in mind, AOFI is the gold standard, as I mentioned earlier, but it's easier said than done to apply those AOFI standards to individual stocks. And a level of expertise is required, a human being ideally is required, and leaving it only to algorithms, right, does expose oneself to certain risks. So my looking at the different options that are out there, the Zeal Corporation has Sharia advisory experts, including Mufti Usmani's family, including Usmani and company, where they manually review every stocks. So the research which you're getting, you get what you pay for. You are getting individually researched stocks. Every single stock has been individually vetted and individually approved to ensure that it meets the requirements listed above. It absolves it frees the person, an investor, from doing the research themselves. And it's there to make life easier for the investor. And that way the investor gets a green light or red light. It's very easy to determine if the stock is halal or haram. And unfortunately, many of the other options out there, they're based on algorithms, right? They're based on calculations, and it's human versus machine. And in this situation, as in others, the human value and the human research is more personalized and more accurate than the machine as well, and then the algorithm as well. So with that, we will open up to Q&A. If there are any questions, inshallah, Brother Hassanein, if you can please share those questions with me.
Thank you.
We'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible within our time slot. I do realize that we're probably not going to be able to cover all the questions, but today is meant to be an introduction. Today is meant to be get the conversation started. Hopefully, inshallah, we can have follow-ups, webinars. We can dedicate an entire hour to additional questions as well.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody, once again.
Hassanein, if you could please share some the questions.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair, Mufti Sahib. Just a few things, guys, regarding the question and answer session. First of all, please make sure this session is about the Islamic investment, Sharia investment, related investment, and not about the Zeal app. So please hold on to your questions. We will have another webinar and a system demo where you can go and ask any question related to the product. And second is regarding questions regarding the Bitcoin. I would like to avoid those ones as well as Mufti Sahib, because there is another session at 2 o'clock Pacific time regarding the Bitcoin, and where Mufti Faraz Adam will address a lot of these issues. So I would suggest to hold on questions related with the Bitcoins at this moment. Maybe some other sessions we can have those things. So among all of those questions, one question that I have right now from the people that are asking the most is they're talking about the profit sharing purification. So do we have to do purification on the profit? And if yes, then how much? And what is the difference between that one versus the purification of the dividend?
So the AOFI standards for the time being, yes.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me, Brother Hassanein?
Yes.
Yes. So for the time being, the AOFI standards have discussed purifying the dividends, with the assumption the person still has their money invested in the stock market itself, once the person sells off those stocks and gains and now has capital gains, they should also purify any profit they receive from the stock market as well. So let me make that very clear again. Dividends are something that are a form of profit that the person will receive while they still have their money invested in the stock market. So they're still, for example, they have 100 shares of XY company. During that time, they might be receiving dividends. So that is income that they're earning while they own the stock. So yes, according to the AOFI standards, they should be purifying that wealth, and any unlawful income, for example, 1% unlawful income, they should be taking that out from the dividends and giving in charity. Once they sell those stocks and make money from those stocks, they should also purify the profits they made from those stocks as well. I hope that's clear to everyone. Yes.
Yes. So the next question that I have is that people are asking that if stock today that I own or any asset that I own today is halal, and after some time it becomes non-Sharia compliant. So how much time do I have to hold on to it till I sell it?
So the challenge which we face also is that the world is also changing, and likewise the stock market is also changing as well. Right? For example, recently Tesla went into the alcohol business. Right? What a person might assume, Tesla simply does deal with cars. Recently, they have now opened things up, and they are now involved in the alcohol business, for example. I'm just giving this as an example. So what it means is sometimes the information changes, and a company that when we purchased that company, it was Sharia compliant. It met the requirements that we have outlined. Later on, something changed, and now that company is no longer halal. Right? So there is no specific window of time, but we should try to sell that stock off. And if there was any income earned once the stock became haram, we should also do our best to give that in charity. Right? So there's no specific window. A person should do their best to, once they find out that the stock has now become haram, it no longer meets the halal requirements, they should do the best to sell it off.
So the another question is that is marginal trading allowed, and what is the rule for that one?
Yes. So marginal trading, it's a specific type of trading. Summary is, through marginal trading, a person in effect takes out a loan, and they're able to trade with a much larger amount than the money that they put in. So for example, the person might put in $1,000, and by using marginal trading, they can now trade with $50,000. So yes, they're using that $50,000, but they will have to pay that amount back with interest. So according to AOFI standards, marginal trading is not allowed. Right? Other people's money. Pretty much you are trading with other people's money, and you're paying them back with interest. That is a summary of it. Yes.
Another question that I have is just going back to regarding the purification. So the people they are asking would like to know that when should they purify, after paying off the taxes and everything, or it should be pre-tax or post-tax? Any? It is a tough question.
I would say it's post-tax. Yeah, post-tax would mean this is actual profit that the person has. Right? So it's the actual profit that the person has gained from the stock. I would say it's post-tax.
Okay. So another question is that how should we voice or raise our concern about the company's involvement in the interest-based income or transactions?
Yeah, very good question. So keep in mind that requirement there, it's meant to create a grassroots change in the stock market. Right? So the scholars who have required this, the objective is just like GameStop was able to change the stock market, right? This grassroots investor movement, right, has changed the stock market as we know it. The goal would be as follows: if enough Muslims and ethical investors speak up and make their voices known that companies in America should not put their money into interest-bearing accounts. They should not put their money into unlawful places, such as alcohol, which are really exploiting the people. So by doing so, if we voice our displeasure, perhaps at an annual general meeting, or perhaps through email, or perhaps through any other means, hopefully, as the 10 million Muslims in America living in America, as one collective voice, hopefully we can bring about change in these companies. So I would say, if a person can even send them an email to the company account, company email account, and voice their disapproval. I am a current investor in XYZ company. I wish to let you know that I disagree with your investment policy. I disagree with you putting money into interest-bearing accounts. That would be sufficient.
Okay. Another question is basically related with the numbers, the purification standards, and all these things that people they are asking that what is the criteria behind the 5% and the 33% and all these things? What is the reason and the logic behind this?
Very good question. Yeah. So to make that super clear, 5% is not explicitly mentioned in the Quran or Hadith or the books of fiqh. Right? That 5% was an amount which the contemporary scholars came up with as a general yardstick. Right? Again, we have mentioned Aofi, we have mentioned Mufti Usmani, we have mentioned the world's greatest Islamic finance scholars and experts. This is a criteria which they have set, and we are following their criteria. So I saw another question as well, Brother Hassanain.
Yes.
How long do we have to hold a stock before we? I believe that was a question I saw on the teleprompter.
Yes.
So there is a difference of opinion regarding this, specifically what we refer to as T+3 or day trading. So in a hadith, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said, "Naha an al-bay'i qabl al-qabd." A person is not allowed to sell something before they receive possession of that thing. And generally, how the stock market works is to avoid speculation and other issues. The stock market only deliver a stock that you buy after 3 days, T+3. So on this basis, day trading does seem to be problematic. There are various opinions among the scholars, but it seems on this basis that day trading should be avoided. And of course, we can talk about this more in a follow-up session. But as the hadith states, a person should not sell something before they gain possession of it. And that would mean once we purchase a stock, we should hold on to it and wait till we receive possession of it before we resell it.
Okay, so basically there are a few questions pretty much going back to the same thing, is that if the company has this X number percentage, more than 5% of the revenue coming from the non-Sharia compliant sources, is it okay to work in such company? Things like that, people there keep on asking. There are a few questions like that, that if a company's total revenue income is more than 5% coming from the non-Sharia compliant stuff, should I work in that workplace or no?
Sorry, can you repeat, brother?
People they're asking that I work in a place where the non-Sharia compliant income is more than 10% of the total company's income. Should I work at that workplace?
Yeah. So that's a separate issue. One is investing in a company, one is working in a company. Right? So let's look at these two issues separately. They are two separate issues. Working for a company, there are other factors involved. And working for a company, we will also look at where that individual's specific income comes from. Right? So, for example, if a person is working for a company, is their income coming from that 90% that's halal, or is it coming from 10% which is haram? Also, is that person's job description specifically involved with that haram aspect or not? It's best. Today we're talking about investing. Let's leave that question about working for one of these companies for a separate time. And there are separate details that are discussed for that. If we bring that up right now, I think it will confuse people. So let's focus right now. We're focusing on investing in a company that has a percentage of haram income and how to deal with those issues.
One of the common questions right now is that people are asking that if I have already invested in a company, which I was not aware is now basically it's a non-Sharia compliance company, or their stock is a non-Sharia compliant. what should I do? I mean, if I go and sell it, what should I do with the profit that I have earned, and how should I address those issues?
Yeah. So, if the person is able to, if they know at what point in time that stock became impermissible to invest in. So, if the person can go back and look at the history and data of that company, and they can determine, for example, at exactly February 1st, XYZ company changed their business strategy and started investing in alcohol, for example. So once they sell that stock, right, as we mentioned before, they should do their best to sell that stock now that's not Sharia compliant. Once they sell that stock, if they can determine what percentage of that income that they gained from selling that stock was before when it was halal, and they can determine what percentage was gained after it became haram. If they can differentiate between the two, then they can keep the halal portion and give the haram portion. I hope that's clear. For example, they found out that the XYZ stock was no longer Sharia compliant on February 1st. And let's say they had they were invested in the stock for 1 year. So what they can do is calculate how much profit was gained from the time they bought the stock to February 1st. And that's going to be a halal portion of that stock. Now, from February 1st till today, the stock might have gone up or down. Mostly went up. And if they can calculate that separately, give that portion away in charity. In other words, that portion of profit that came from that stock after it became haram, give that away in charity. If it's difficult to determine that, if it's difficult to calculate that, the safer thing would be any profits gained from that stock, give the entire amount in charity.
So another question that people are having is same going back to the day trading is like, for example, if people are asking that, okay, if I go and obtain the certificate that it's in my possession, if I purchase a product in the morning and in the afternoon I have the certificate that, hey, I have this one, that the transaction has been completed, but I still do not acquire the T2 plus thing. So what should I do in that case? Should I go and do a lot day trading or not to do the day trading? It's a little bit complicated thing.
But Hassanin, yes. So I think part of answering the question goes back to what we mentioned in the beginning of today's webinar, which is Muslims as a whole, if they want to get involved in the stock market, they should also have a secular understanding and understanding of investment strategy. Now, the whole point is you're not going to make a quick buck off the stock market. There's no such thing as overnight returns and a quick fix. Day trading has no strategy. The issue with day trading, yes, there are experts involved in day trading, but from a investing point of view, day trading is no strategy. If a person has a long-term strategy, for example, they have an idea that the economy is going to grow under XYZ president due to market forces, they have a strategy. They're holding on to a stock for a long period of time. So let us separate, for day trading, let us separate between the two things. One is halal haram. One is good market strategy or good market investment decision making. So those individuals who want to get involved in day trading, I would strongly discourage it based on the fact that it is not wise investment strategy. Right? And in fact, there is no strategy. Right? How do you know within a period of 1 or 2 hours a stock is going to go up and down? There's no strategy involved. There's no thinking involved. It's a random process. Right? So day trading, people, you might hear of 1 or 2 people make rich off day trading. There are hundreds of others who have lost a lot of money in day trading. So I strongly discourage day trading. It is not sound investment strategy. And instead, I read some books on investing, read some books on strategy, and I would recommend adopting a long-term strategy approach. Right? That is the safest strategy, and inshallah, you will make some good halal income through long-term investment strategy.
I mean,
And if
just to
someone's
add,
interested in day trading, yeah, we can
yeah,
bring the
go ahead,
fatwas
go
if
ahead.
they want. If they insist on day trading and they want the fatwas and they want the research, inshallah, in a follow-up webinar, we can talk more about day trading.
Inshallah. So also another thing is that, I mean, day trading just brings a extra stress in the life for no reason. If you go and invest that one from the long-term perspective, you gain more out of it and get less stress and stuff in your life.
Yes.
And another question is that people, they're asking regarding the current and saving accounts. I don't think this is the right time to address it, because we are talking about from the stock market related stuff and the investment related stuff. That's banking. It's a banking issue. It's a separate something which we can address separately. And another question that people, they're asking a lot is regarding the SPAC stocks. Are they Sharia compliant or no? And I know that why you're asking that, because this is a hype in the market right now. I believe last week or the week before that, Islamically guys, they did a webinar on it. So I mean, it's a complete whole topic of discussion, and we cannot address this issue in just a few minutes. So I would suggest let's leave this thing for the next webinar, and we can go and dive into more details of that one as well, because it needs a little bit more research involved. So I would like, I mean, the time is up. There are plenty of questions. I would like to wrap it up as soon as possible. Okay. And if...
Brother Hassanin,
yes, please.
Perhaps we can announce it right now if you wish, Brother Hassanin. A second installment of the webinar.
Yeah, inshallah, 3 weeks from now. Inshallah, 3 weeks from now.
Day trading, margin trading, futures, options, and so on.
Yeah, inshallah, 14th of March. Let's do. We will do another webinar, and we will send out all the details, inshallah, sometime early next week, probably by Tuesday, Wednesday. So maybe around the same time, 11 o'clock Pacific time and 2 o'clock East Coast time. So I think we have addressed pretty much all the issues. And one of the last question that is the person is asking that if I have purchased a stock which I was not aware because I bought it without doing my research that it is Sharia compliant or no, now I know, what should I do with the profit? Should I hold it off till if I'm losing, should I hold it off till it's get off, or should I go and sell it as soon as possible? And if I've made any kind of the profit, what should I do with that one?
So the main question is, if a person came to today's webinar, already had money invested in the stock market, but they never did any research, or they did not know which stocks are halal or haram. So I think the first step is, based on the criteria presented today in this webinar, find out if the stocks in your portfolio currently, whether or not they are halal or haram. Once you find that out, then we can do next, right? But that's the first step. If you have any money invested already, find out if those stocks which you're invested in meet the halal requirements or not. If they do meet the halal, and you can hold on to them, that's fine. If you find out that they do not meet the halal requirements, then you have to take further steps. And then now if you made any money off of those haram stocks, give them in charity. If you have made no money off of them, then you don't have to do anything.
So there's a question that how do we consult IOFI? Is there any app, or is there a way that we can contact IOFI for any financial related matters? So IOFI is an organization that set up the rules and standards. And then after that, it goes to the financial institutes whose job is to make sure that they go and implement those rules. So you need to go and contact those financial institutes, advisors, the Sharia advisors, and the financial advisors who can let you know that what is you're looking for and where it falls from the Sharia compliant part. So another question is that if I have an ETF like ARK, okay, which updates their profiles on a frequently basis, and if they have picked up a stock which is impermissible, what should I do with the ETF? So ETF as a whole is considered, because for something for the ETF or mutual funds to be compliant, Sharia compliant, all the stocks or the assets in that one has to be Sharia compliant. So that's what is the basic understanding of that one. So if a company, if the mutual fund owner,
well, brother, so,
yes, please go ahead.
Yes, so as you mentioned, brother, so to determine if any IRA or 401k or mutual fund is halal, we have to look at the individual stocks in that fund. So today we discussed the ruling for determining if a single stock is halal. But any mutual fund or retirement plan or 401k or ETF is stocks. Again, we'd have to if all the stocks in that mutual fund or IRA or 401k, if all the individual stocks are Sharia compliant or not Sharia compliant.
Okay, here's one interesting question that I would like to take it in the last, and I would like to call it off after that one. If person is asking, if a trade takes days or perhaps gets rejected because of the liquidity issue at a clearing house, something that happens with the GME, okay, GameStop trades, what is an opinion on such kind of the trades? Hello?
Yeah.
So the
yes,
person
okay.
is, please.
So are they referring to
the
does
GameStop
the trade go through, or is it completely canceled?
It's canceled. So
it looks like this question is specifically on GameStop. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And is the assumption that did the trade happen or did it not happen?
It says that the trade did not happen.
Then you should get your money back. Then there shouldn't be any issue.
Yeah. All right. So I would like to close this session. And if you guys have any questions or anything that concern, please feel free to email us at info@thzeal.com. Either a question for us, the Zeal, or question for our advisor, Mufti Abdullah Nana Sahab. We will be happy to answer those questions and maybe address some of those ones in the next webinar, depending upon all these number of questions and the issues. So inshallah, watch out, and we will let you know. The next webinar probably on the 14th of March, inshallah, at the same time. Jazakallah khair, everybody.
Inshallah.
And thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.